How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
I love the young people.
So, over the past few days, Halo fans, me included, have had their world turned upside down by the reveal of halocambatevolved. I mean, we did know that this was potentially coming, given that, teaser trailer they did of Halo in Unreal Engine 5 that was also in October, but last year. So, actually seeing gameplay and being able to learn more about it has been, well, a wild ride to say the least. Personally, I'm very conflicted on how to feel about it, and at first, I'll be honest, I was very worried and embarrassingly upset, but I think other people have shared a similar sentiment, at least a little bit of disappointment in some areas. There's excitement in seeing a new Halo project for sure, especially one so nostalgic for a lot of people. In this video, I'm just gonna ramble and talk about how I feel. Some of it's gonna be scripted, some definitely not. I bet you can probably tell which parts are which. Firstly, I want to say that despite how negative I will probably sound in parts of this video, I'm mostly excited for what we potentially get from halocambatevolved, as we've only seen a small glimpse of what the greater project's going to be. So, in that same vein, I'm going to start with the positives. The graphics look fantastic. The silent cartographer looks the most beautiful it's ever been, and the lighting is really fucking good. It's amazing how lighting has come so far in gaming. Halo Combat Evolved had many diverse environments, to say the least. You had swamps, arctic valleys, you had the silent cartographer, like a tropical island kind of thing. You had the spaceships and all that, swamp. So if these are all as good as silent cartographer looks in the gameplay reveal we've got, I think we're in for something special. We even got a glimpse of the swamp in 343 Guilty Spark in the roundtable reveal. It was only a short little snippet, but it looks like something out of Silent Hill, so that gets me excited. We need more horror in 343 Guilty Spark, if they're going to do anything with that level, if they're going to remake it. It's also nice to see that smaller details have been added, such as the Warthog leaving tracks in the sand, and there was even a video I saw of wildlife that was added onto the island, like crabs and starfish. I thought that was pretty sick. The cutscene that we saw was also really sick. I feel like it really encapsulated what I want out of a remake. It took the original and built on it. It didn't change it too much, but it changed it enough that, it just looked way cooler. It's going to be a bit sad losing the section where you kind of can look around and stuff, because now it is pure cutscene, but it still looked really cool. And also the fact that they remembered that pelicans have guns, on them with the machine gun firing was pretty cool. One thing I will say, and everyone's seen it, that you've been waiting for me to mention it in this section, it's coming. The stuttering and the asset popping during the mid cutscene is pretty bad. I can't glaze over that one. I would hope that it's because it's early days in the game's development and the engine's development, and that by the time the full game drops, it won't be an issue anymore. Because if it is, that's just unacceptable. I'm sorry, but I know Unreal Engine 5 is kind of bad for this sort of thing, but yeah, no, we just don't want that in there. Cutscenes have always been integral to Halo, so if the rest of them are as good, about the stutter, as the one we've seen, I'll be happy. As long as they keep the slapstick humor in them and they're not all super serious, like in Keys where Chief falls from upside down. It would be a shame to lose those sort of funnier moments that kind of give Halo its soul. And that's a big thing for me, really, is keeping the soul of Halo Combat Evolved intact. I'm fine that changes are made as long as they improve what's already there and make it a lot more good looking, I guess you could say. But you can't just have really good graphics but lose the atmosphere of the game. Otherwise it's not Halo Combat Evolved in the current day. It's just some pale imitation of it that looks fancy. You gotta respect what made the original game so special. It's a remake that it would just take away from the experience rather than bringing it into the modern day, if that makes sense. Outside of graphics, it's really cool to hear new and redone voice lines by the beloved voice actors of, the original game. Halo wouldn't be the same without their outstanding performances, so to be able to hear them recreated 25 years later is pretty wild, to say the least. It would have been easy to just reuse the old voice work, because, it's a remake, but kept it the same for nostalgia. you know, it'd be really, like, they could do that, but they didn't. And that's important to recognize, because ultimately, you know, you got to recognize the good, otherwise it's all going to be negative, and then there's just going to be no critical feedback, and yeah, we're just going to get shit. I think some voice lines are reused. I think the voice lines for Captain Keyes have been kept the same, which isn't the end of the world. It's cool that there's some that are new and updated. Seeing Fohammer as well in the cutscene actually given an appearance other than just being kind of like a voice and a generic NPC in the cockpit was really cool, because they are a pretty iconic character, if you ask me. It's nice to see that she's been given the love that she deserves. You might have not seen it as well because it wasn't in any of the videos or anything that were dropped recently, but there was a Waypoint article that dropped on Halo Waypoint, which I'll link in the description, which gave some more details that we didn't see in the videos. For instance, they revealed that 9 new weapons are being added to Halo Campaign Evolved, with them highlighting the battle rifle, needle rifle, and the energy sword so far, which I'm down for, especially weapons like the needle rifle, because they were in Halo Reach. So even though like Halo Reach came out far after, canonically they exist within the same time. So it's cool to use that and bring it in. I don't really know what the other 6 weapons will be. I would imagine that one of them will be the fuel rod cannon, as it was usable, oh my lord, it was usable in the PC port of Halo Combat Evolved, and so in the same vein, maybe the flamethrower too, but I kind of don't really feel so strong. Oh, they also mentioned the Sentinel Beam as well. I completely forgot about that one. Yes, the Sentinel Beam will be usable as well. As for vehicles, as they showed in the 13-minute gameplay demo, the Warthog can now fit 4 people instead of 3, which is nice, because when you and the boys have a LAN party, no one gets left behind. Remember that? Remember LAN parties? What a time that was. Also, the Wraith is now drivable, which is pretty neat. I'm still not sure why it wasn't in the OG, if I'm honest, but now we can finally live out our Wraith dreams that we've always, you know, yearned for. Something they really emphasized in the developer chat trailer thing, I think it's like the roundtable reveal, was skulls, which I really didn't expect, because skulls definitely have a part to play in like the Halo campaign experience, especially for like replay value, but I wouldn't have really thought that they would be highlighted so much, I guess. Apparently there's a lot more skulls now, and that can allow you to create a really challenging experience, which, according to one of the developers, is going to be harder than any lasso we've seen so far. I remember as a wee lad trying to beat the Halo Reach campaign lassos for those like weekly challenges, so I could level up. Yeah, God, it's hard to believe that was like, what, 15 years, almost 15 years ago, or something like that, or is it 14? Maybe. I think it's 14, but still, that's a long time ago. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. I reckon that they've put such an emphasis on them because that's going to be like the core replay value of the game, because Halo Campaign Evolved isn't getting a multiplayer. There's no multiplayer attached. It is just purely the campaign. Kind of like, I think it was it Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 Remastered that did that? Which is crazy because it's no doubt going to be like a full price game, so dropping without multiplayer is a ballsy move in my opinion. I think they put such an emphasis on the skulls so that it's like, oh, you see, you'll get more out of the game. You'll want to keep playing it. Otherwise, people are going to complain. Depending on the price, because we don't know the price yet, I don't think. So if it's like, you know, 60 quid, $70 for Americans, and you're just getting the campaign that most people are probably gonna get through in about 12 to 16 hours. Yeah, that's a lot. So I think that's why such an emphasis was played on it, which, I can't say is really a good thing. It's cool to have skulls, but, like, I don't know, should they be such a focus? I'm not so sure, but we'll see. Maybe they really changed the game. Maybe you play the game upside down. I don't fucking know. However, a bit more positive than that, we are getting 3 new prequel levels focusing on Sergeant Johnson and Chief's relationship, which I'm reading that I put that in the script, and it just kind of feels like it's kind of like a yaoi development, like my doomed yaoi of Sergeant Johnson and Master Chief, but the real ones, no, it's really about Chief and Arby. Anyway, getting ahead of myself. 3 new prequel levels focusing on their dynamic, which I don't think any of us was expecting any new levels at all. So, you know, that's really fucking cool to see. Johnson's a really cool character, and given Halo 3, we don't really have any other ways to explore his story or him other than Halo Wars 2. There's also the books as well. Gonna be great to have more content of Sergeant Johnson, admittedly. Yeah, they're set before Halo Combat Evolved, but I think they're also set before Reach as well. And we know this, I should mention, because the video dropped by the GOAT, Hidden Xperia, who spoke to some of the Halo Studios devs. I'll link their video in the description too if you want more details, because I'm not going to report what they said because it's their video, it's their, you know, information that they deserve to be the one to break to everyone. So you can go watch it, go give them some love. But yes, it's set before Reach. Overall, on the positive, there is a lot to be excited about. I think that we could potentially get something that the Halo fanbase has sorely lacked for a long time, because Halo 3 Anniversary never happened, and Halo 2 Anniversary was like 12 years ago. Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary was pretty universally agreed to be a bad remaster, because they did up the graphics, but it was basically just a Halo Reach Evolved. They just ported so many Halo Reach assets into the game, and then called it a remaster, and it kind of lost a lot of what made Halo Combat Evolved so great. It lost its identity, and so it wasn't really liked. Especially the flood levels, I feel, were a lot brighter, a lot less kind of spooky and intimidating, which is what the whole point in them was, really, with like 343 Guilty Spark and the library. So that was, you know, a shame. And it was also like the really janky terrain where you'd walk on a cliff and fall through it, because the original like terrain in Halo Combat Evolved didn't actually exist there, and they just kind of put a cliff in the Anniversary Edition, and yeah, you thought you could stand on it, and you couldn't. Like, that was pretty funny, but it was also kind of like really embarrassing. Suffice to say, it'd be awesome to get a remake 25 years later that brings us back to the game that gave the Halo its identity, its franchise, and, you know, was such a core memory for a lot of people. I mean, Halo Infinite kind of recaptured a bit of that, and it had some momentum going, because before that there was the gap between Halo 5 Guardians and Halo Infinite, and we were just desperate for some kind of like story content, a new game that recaptured the old art style. It wasn't this weird like new mishmash that no one really, and not to say no one enjoyed, there definitely were some good parts of it. It just, I don't know, it started to feel less and less like Halo. So when we got Halo Infinite, it was like, yeah, we're back. And then they completely cut the writing team, and we never got any kind of follow-up on the campaign or any DLC or anything. It all went to multiplayer. So that was also pretty disappointing. We've not had any kind of campaign content for Halo since that, which was 4 years ago. It could be that this serves as, you know, an appetizer to bring us back in before they release the next game, Halo 7. It would just be nice to get some story and lore-related content, you know, that we've missed for so long. Not to mention that it also gives an opportunity to use some of the lore developed since Halo Combat Evolved came out to, you know, expand on areas, levels, storytelling, you know, give us more than what we had before that makes sense in world without retconning anything or trying to make any kind of new changes that weren't in the original, if that makes sense. Basically just stay true to the story that was told in the original, but then use the lore that's been developed in the like 25 years since that game came out to add stuff to it. You know, I think that would be really cool, if that makes sense. Another thing as well, using the GOAT's name once more, Hidden Xperia. I know that he said about, because in they revealed tank forms that were being added in, you know, the flood tank forms, which doesn't make sense because they need because they're pure flood forms, they need a grave mine to exist in order to facilitate that. So Hidden Xperia suggested that they had in the library, in the sort of tanks that you have on the side of the wall, they have them in there and they break through. I think that'd be really fucking cool. So, you know, if we get stuff like that, I'm happy. There is definitely a lot to play around with. And one thing that I would love to see as well, and I don't think we get it or anything, but it'd be cool to see, I don't know if anyone remembers it, or if you, I'm sure you do, but there was a graphic novel that dropped for Halo, and they had like a story in it called Breaking Quarantine, which was about how Sergeant Johnson escaped from 343 Guilty Spark, because obviously he goes in with his team, and then you don't see him, we don't see him since, until Halo 2, not counting the legendary ending, which I don't think is canon, funnily enough. So it'd be cool to see that maybe expanded upon a little bit, but I doubt it. I doubt it. I don't think it would make much sense, but I can hope. I feel that Halo Campaign Evolved, one of the main reasons why it's garnered a lot of negativity is because it could be really good and it's got a lot of potential. It's terrifying because if it's shit, it feels far worse. If a game comes out, or like a game's revealed and you think, yeah, that looks pretty ass, like, you know, I'm not really interested, then if it comes out and it's great, that's amazing. But if it comes out and it's shit, you didn't have those expectations. But when you're using such an important and impressive game throughout all of gaming history, like Halo Combat Evolved, which was an inspiration for a lot of shooters to this day, like, it's terrifying, man. Like, you don't want that to be bad. And if it is bad, like, what does that say going forward for Halo? Basically, what I'm trying to say is that you want it to be good because you want to be able to invoke that nostalgia and enjoy a refreshing experience that builds upon the old without making you feel like you're not even playing, like, a remake of that old game. It just feels completely different. Anyway, now that I've kind of glazed for a while and talked about the negatives, I'm going to talk about the things that I wasn't too happy with or keen on, and things that I'm kind of just confused about, if I'm honest. So for starters, there's been a lot of like questionable changes, which I don't really understand why they've been made, and they take away from Halo Combat Evolved's kind of soul and core identity, and there wasn't really any reasons given as to why. Because to me personally, like, a remake is essentially you take an old game and you bring it into the modern day graphically, and also sometimes, depending on what the old game's like, you bring it in to a more modern gameplay style. Think about like Resident Evil 2's remake, because Resident Evil 2, when it came out, was it 1998? I could be wrong. Probably I'm wrong. It was fixed camera, you know, you went into rooms, the camera angle was fixed, it didn't follow you. It was that kind of horror experience. Aiming was really bad. Then they converted it into a third-person survival horror game, sort of fitting more with games of the current day that have come out, you know, kind of like Dead Space almost, in a way. With a game like Halo Combat Evolved, I feel like it's far harder to do this because it stands up really well, if you ask me. Obviously, graphically, it's dated. What I'm afraid of is that in an attempt to kind of bring it to the modern day, Halo Studios are going to like rework areas that don't need reworking to make it seem more modern, in quotation marks, but all it does is just make the game more generic and lose its identity. So a couple that I picked up on what we've seen so far from the gameplay footage is that the HUD that they've changed, the UI, it just looks boring, and the layout, it's been confirmed that you can change so that the ammo counters in the top left, the radars in the bottom right, but I don't think you can change it to visually resemble what it is in the original, and it just looks really boring and generic. Like, I don't know, it doesn't inspire confidence that that's been changed the way it has for seemingly no reason. And maybe I'm wrong. I would be welcome to be corrected if anyone has any kind of thoughts on that. But personally, I just think we need to change this so it looks more modern, it looks more sleek, and all they've done is kind of just taken what was already pretty cool that could have been updated to look more contemporary, I guess you could say. Yeah. Although I will say it's cool to see like the helmet lines, so it actually looks like you're looking through the helmet's visor. I will give them credit for that. I do like that when that's in Halo. I could definitely understand if there were like new HUD elements and changes that needed to be made to accommodate them, and you know, maybe some like new counter or something, or some ultimate Spartan ability counter, which would be insane. But you know, that's not the case. There's no new elements. So why change it? Though health now regenerates on its own, as opposed to only like the shields regenerating and you needing to pick up health packs to regenerate your health, which I'm not happy about personally, and it might just sound like I'm being nitpicky and upset for the sake of being upset, but I remember being in like moments in the original Halo Combat Evolved where I was on like one red bar of health and I had to fight like and just hide and cover like a little bitch till I found the next health pack. And it would be so intense, I'd be scouring everywhere, and I would finally find it, and I'd be back up to full health to run out and lose it all again. And I loved that. And it's not like we haven't seen this in other Halo games as well, because Halo 3 ODST had it, which made sense because you were an ODST, but Halo Reach had it as well. So, like, I don't think that's something that, ooh, modern games don't have, like, limited health. It's, you know, it's, like, it always regenerates. Like, no, you could still keep that. But it's not the end of the world. It's just something I noticed. For some reason, the assault rifle has been capped at 32 round capacity, which is what the older model, the MA5C assault rifle, had in, like, Halo 3, rather than the original 60 rounds, which is what the MA5B, the model of the assault rifle in Halo Combat Evolved, have, which doesn't make sense. Even from, like, a modern gaming perspective, there's really no reason to change that. It's just weird that they would make that change, because Halo Studios themselves said in their roundtable reveal that they want to be as faithful as possible to the original game. So I'm not sure why they thought those changes were necessary. It doesn't really feel like it's being faithful. If you're upgrading it, like, whatever, I don't know, if they added a grenade launcher to it, which is a canon thing, cool, you know? Be bizarre, but cool. Like, I've praised mods that do that before, so it's only right that if they did that, that's something that, you know, you could have. But no, they just capped it at 32 for some reason. Now, this one is always going to be controversial, and I'm going to try to talk about it without just sounding really bitter, but sprint in Halo. Some people think it doesn't belong in Halo ever. Some people, you know, welcome it, and some people think it really should be in by this point. Personally, I'm conflicted. Is sprint really that bad? Especially because it looks like it's like infinite sprint, which I would say no, it's not really that bad. But the greater problem, I guess you could say, is that if sprint is in the game, what changes to, like, level design have they now made to accommodate sprint? Because the original game wasn't built for it. You know, the areas where you were kind of slowly walking through, like corridors, were made for loading zones. I'm thinking like Assault on the Control Room, so you could load the next level. There was areas where you'd walk and just take in the environment for a bit because you're a bit slower. It did have function, but now sprint is in the game. You don't have to worry about those loading zones and whatnot. Are we just going to zoom through without taking in the environment? It's been confirmed that there is an option to turn it off, which makes me wonder, if you can turn it off, then are there any changes actually made to accommodate it? Because in the Silent Cartographer, from what we saw, the only change to the level design was that the valley, where you have to get out your Warthog to go into the Hunter arena, was opened up, so you could drive the Warthog in. But there was no changes to, like, the length of certain areas. So why add sprint? Like, sure, add it for the sake of adding it, I guess, but then it's like, what else has been added for the sake of being added? By adding more, and you're taking away more, if that makes sense. It's almost like that Captain Price line, the more things changes, the more they stay the same, or whatever he says. I can't remember. That was a terrible impression. Ignore that. So, sprint is always going to be controversial for the Halo fandom. I'm not going to pretend it's not, but right now, it doesn't really feel like it's necessary, so I just don't understand why it was added in the first place. I did also notice that there was ADS for the Needler, kind of reminiscent of how it was in Halo 5, which is weird, but it's not the end of the world, so long as it isn't like that for every weapon. I do think it's really bizarre, but I don't mind it, personally. Is it necessary? No. Does it take away from the experience? No, not really. So, as long as it's just the Needler that does that and it isn't every weapon like Halo 5, I think we're good. Because if they did that, it's just going backwards. And people already complained about Halo 5 and how they didn't like that. So why would you then go backwards on that? You know people aren't going to like that. Anyway, I'll be blunt, the weapon sounds, not all great in my opinion. I'm not expecting the same weapon designs, but improvements on the old. And for a lot of the weapons we saw, not that it's all of them, mind you, it wasn't the case. I mean, the worst offender is the Magnum. Like, the Magnum's supposed to be this chunky, high caliber bloody hand cannon is supposed to sound hard hitting and powerful, and it sounds like a wet lettuce compared to the original. It sounds generic, like the sidekick from Halo Infinite, which again people weren't a fan of replacing the Magnum, but at least it was a new weapon. But this is the Magnum that everyone loves, so why make it sound like a wet fart? It just doesn't sound good to me. It doesn't sound as powerful as it is. The plasma rifle as well sounds pretty mid. It sounds very generic, and it doesn't really capture any of the original Combat Evolved's character, if that makes sense. I know it sounds like a cop-out, but it just, to me, it just sounds very flat. It doesn't sound like the plasma weapons sound in Halo, which is weird because I feel like the plasma pistol sounds are good in Campaign Evolved. I know that I'm being nitpicky. Like, I'm gonna be real. I know that I am, and a lot of people have been. It doesn't have the soul of Halo in it. It's just another sci-fi game that looks really good, sure, but it doesn't have what attracted people to it so much. And it's really bizarre to me because, like, they have shown that they can incorporate improved sounds from the original, such as like the item pickup sounds you hear, like when you pick up ammo, and like explosions, enemy sounds, like the grunt dialogue and such, and new elite dialogue. Even though it's in human, which wasn't in Combat Evolved, I can forgive that. And the vehicle sounds, especially the Warthog's chain gun, they're really good. And the Spirit dropships sound a lot crisper, but similar. Like, they've proven that they can do it in some areas, but then they've dropped the ball in areas that are really important. So I'm just really confused. That's the best word I can use to describe it. I'm confused. I don't understand why changes have been made, but then, like, they've shown that they can make meaningful changes and improvements. I don't know, just something to think about. Overall, it's the preservation of Halo Combat Evolved's identity and soul that I feel like I and a lot of other people are most concerned about. Because if you're going to remake a game, it's got to have that same soul. How many times have I said soul in this video? You know, Bungie struggled to remaster it with Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary, and like, that was their game that they made. So it's one hell of a project for a company that, you know, have picked it up, have never worked on it before. Personally, I'm going to remain cautiously optimistic. To make a judgment now without seeing more of the game would be callous and silly. You know, I understand. I mean, I'm upset in certain areas, as you can tell, and looking forward to it in other areas. But until we've seen more of it, a more intact version of the game, I'm not going to make a judgment. I'm just, like I said, cautiously optimistic. I've seen some YouTube shorts and content and such saying that Halo fans can never be happy when, you know, they're given something, like a new game or a new, like, project or something. And it might surprise you, I don't entirely disagree, but I disagree not for the same reasons. Since Bungie dropped Halo and 343 took the mantle, you know, Halo fans have been subject to a lot of changes to their beloved franchise. It took practically a decade for Halo's identity return through Halo Infinite, so now for the very game that started it all to be remade is scary. Because, like I said earlier, how sad it would be if it ended up being shit. It's like one of your prized possessions just being shat on and rubbed into the dirt. A lot of trust in 343 and now Halo Studios was lost, you know, after Infinite's campaign didn't get any follow-up. So to choose this as the next project is a ballsy gamble. If it ends up being good, then it'll earn a lot of favor that was lost. If it's bad, then it could just ruin any kind of reputation or faith in the Halo franchise going forward. People from the outset, I feel, see people being really negative, and it's just something to be negative about. They see a game come out, a new Halo game or whatnot, and you can never be happy. You know, you just want to complain about something, you purposely being negative. I think that's not a very good take, because Halo Combat Evolved was groundbreaking when it came out and really set the bar for what sci-fi shooters should be, and shooters in general, really. It's a culturally significant, God, that sounds so cringe, but it's so culturally significant for a lot of people, like a lot of gamers rise up and all that. So this has to be good, otherwise it's like you really like a movie and it's your favorite movie of all time, and then a sequel comes out and the sequel's not terrible, but it's not really like the original in any way. So you kind of watch it and you're like, that's not terrible. It's, you know, it's not terrible, but it's not great. And then they remake the original. Nah, that's my favorite movie ever. What are they doing? Okay, well, I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. And it's absolute garbage, and it just ruins it. Like, even the original now is ruined for you. There was just no need for it to be done. And I feel like that is, you know, how this is going to be. People aren't being upset for the... Well, some people are going to be, but not everyone's being upset for the sake of being upset or being really hypercritical for the sake of being hypercritical. It's because they want a product that they can fall in love with again, like they did 25 years ago, and they want the future of Halo to be better, and they want to be able to say, at the end of the day, that Halo Studios did a good job, these guys know what they're doing, they respect the franchise that they're working with, and, you know, what comes next we can look forward to. Because we've not had that. Halo fans haven't had that for a while now. And, you know, that does suck. And it's all riding on this. So that's my two-piece on the situation. There's a lot of people who do want to be negative for the sake of being negative, who will hate it for the sake of being, you know, hating it, which is fair enough. You do you. But I don't like when there's this reductionist kind of, all Halo fans are all like this and they're all upset and they can never be happy, without any of the nuance and reasons why. Thank you for watching this and listening to me ramble. I've never really made a video like this before. There's a lot I wanted to say. I wasn't really sure how to say it, so I just thought if I rambled it, you know. Especially because I do a lot of like mod, not reviewing as such, but like a lot of mod coverage and stuff, which I can be critical, so I think it's only fair to apply that to the games as well. So I hope you enjoyed this. Any big updates or big like footage reveals or anything for Halo Campaign Evolved, I'll likely cover, but for now I'm gonna leave it to the professionals who are better at it, like who I mentioned in this video, the Eggman, Hidden Xperia, and I'm gonna return to the usual mod stuff. I do have a longer form video in the works, something very new for me, but it's gonna take a while, and it already takes me a while to get videos out as is, so look forward to it, but it's gonna be a while. I hope you'll enjoy it all the same. I do have a new mod video in the works that should be out soon. Look forward to that as well. Sorry it's taken so long. Until next time, I will see you in the next video.